Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I'm going to do a video on one of the options I go to when I have some papers or backgrounds or something that I just don't love, or I don't know how to use, or they feel too busy, or I'm just not sure. Sometimes, like these here, this one's from 49 and Market, these are kind of washi tapes sort of things. These ones here are just like book pages, but sometimes in these gorgeous packages there are pages that we just don't know how to use or can't see them how we would use them in your style. You can't see how they would work for you, and I just want to show you one option, although I have another video coming up for more options on how I kind of go about that and I get over that hurdle of me thinking I don't really know how to use these. So these are the Toast Collage sheets from 49 and Market. I got these recently. You'll note in the videos I've been using them lots. I got a couple of things recently. It was my birthday, so I splashed out and got a few things, and that's okay because I love about 9/10 of what's in this package, and there are a couple here that I'm just like, I'm not sure exactly how I would go about using that. So I thought I would just quickly show you at least one way today of how I get over that mental block, for me anyway. So I'm going to pick out some of the papers in here. You can absolutely pick them from different sets. It doesn't have to be just one set. It might be backgrounds you've made. It might be music paper or note paper that you've picked up, or it's all in an old book that's falling apart, or who knows, it might just be anything. Now, I was actually going to use this piece of map, but I love this map, and this video kind of went in a different direction. I can use the map up easily. What I am going to do, these sort of mushroom sheets here, I am not sure that I would find myself using, and albeit I love these gorgeous, some of these, I just am not sure how I would use them. Like this gorgeous page that's at the top here, I love it. I'm just not sure how I would use it in a background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear these up into smaller pieces. Now, I really don't want to think when I'm doing this, I'm trying not to look at the image too much. Now, with the book paper, everybody loves book paper, but I'm including some things in this that I do love, and I do love book paper, so I'm going to use a little bit of it. I'm also going to tear out one of those mushrooms, and I've just got a little bit here because I'm not going to town. If I was going to go and make, 6, 8, or 10 backgrounds, I would keep going with this and just keep ripping things up and just think less. Now, I'm going to create a new background with these. So I'm going to put down a layer of liquid glue. This one that I'm using is the matte medium from Ranger. And you can use any. You could use a glue stick. That would work perfectly. But I just prefer the old paintbrush and glue. That works well for me. I like this glue because it doesn't dry with any sheen, and I put down a little layer beforehand, and I'm going to put down a layer over top, so I know that none of this background is going to peel up, none of it is going to move. Once it's down, it's down. And again, this part here is about not thinking too much. I really am just putting down these things. I am trying not to make sure there's too much of the same next to each other. But the book text is upside down, it's sideways, that bit right there in the center is sideways. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm trying not to think too much. You're trying not to have perfect shapes. Some of the background is going to be white. And again, this is going to become a background. So it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I am doing this on my Waffle Flower Stencil mat. And this is great because the glue, even if it's dried, it just peels off. Or if it's still wet, then I can wipe it off with a damp cloth. Perfect to work on here. So once this is dry, which now it is, this is how the background is looking. I'm going to cut this down just because this sort of helps my mind process what I'm left with. So I can cut off the edges using some long bladed scissors or a trimmer or a guillotine, anything like that, and you've got your end image. Now I also have some lace. I have a couple of different bits here. This is truly my whole stash, so I am limited to what's exactly here. I could dye this with some reinkers if I wanted it to be a different color, or some alcohol markers if I wanted to go that far, or alcohol inks would dye it. I go to town. I'm just thinking about what would be nice to go on the background here. Now, this is personal choice. You might have some ribbon, you might have some die cuts, you might have some lace, you might want to use some buttons, you might want to just use a torn piece of paper, you might want to, as I said, use some die cuts to create a different edge if you have edging die cuts. That would be fabulous too. Have a look what's in your stash. As I said, I keep these couple of little bits of lace here, and I decided to go with this fairly chunky one, honestly. So I am going to, as I said, we've created a background, and it's going to be, some of it is going to be covered up. It is a background, but at least it means I'm using some of those papers. Now I'm using the same gel medium to go on here, and this is going to glue down my gorgeous piece of lace. I'm just making sure all of it is pretty glued down. I don't really want bits that are moving around or, you know, that come up or anything. So I am putting a decent amount under here. Again, it's going to dry clear, so we are all good. By now, if you've watched a couple of my videos earlier in the last couple of weeks, you'll know that I invested in this bold Botanicals from Tim Holtz, and I love this set. I wasn't even sure when I purchased it how I would go about using it. It kind of got my mind spinning, which is fun, and that's a great thing for me. So I did invest in this one, and you'll see I have quite a lot of videos using it, because when I invest in these items, all of my craft items, I want to make sure I get the best use out of them possible. That makes it better value for money, and again, these are not the cheapest stamp sets on the market, and so I do want to make sure that I get great value and great use out of these. So I took a scrap piece of paper. I have stamped this down with some VersaFine Clear Pinecone ink, which is just a brown pigment ink. I'm putting over a layer of clear embossing powder, and right at this point, I think, I feel like I should do another one, because I'm just not sure where I'm heading with any of this. This was all just, you know, seeing how I was going. And so I thought I'll do another one just in case, because I know myself, if I stamp out sentiments, I need to stamp two, because I'll probably muck one up if I only stamp one. Does anyone else do that? I feel like I'm just covering my own back. It saves me having to go backwards in a step if I just do two at once. So same thing, stamp it out again, and then make sure I've got the clear embossing powder over top, then melt it all, and you will see that I end up using both of these because I do indeed change my mind halfway through. So I am glad and grateful that I made the decision to do two at the time. Not that it's that hard to go back and get everything out, but you know what it's like if you're on a roll and you know sort of what you want, but it didn't work out as you wanted, and it feels like an effort to get everything back out again. Anyhow, I'm going to pop this one back on, and from here I want a little bit of colour behind these. Now I haven't hit my colourful phase with these yet. That might be coming. This is Broken China and Vintage Photo. I'm still staying very rusticy. I think I was mainly guided by the background papers that I used. So if yours were brighter, or you did that with even just coloured pieces of cardstock, then you might choose different colours for the background of your flower too. Now, I was just being pretty much lazy or time efficient, I'm not sure. I cut a little makeup wedge in half, and that's going to be my ink daubers, because this will do the trick just fine. And I'm just going to lightly pop some of this over top of the open spaces just to give it a bit of a colour in. Now, at this point, I knew that I just wanted to cut this out, but as soon as I cut this right here, and I look at it and I realise I should have left the white border. It needs the white border. Now, could I have gone back and stuck another layer of white to make a matting layer behind it? Yes. Will I do that? Probably also yes. Otherwise, I just put this in my little scraps pile, or I put it in the back of the stamp set, and that way I will have one stamped out next time, and I can see if it works for the next project that I'm working on. But I'm glad I stamped out the second one, because this time I'm going to make sure I do all of the inking just a little bit around the outside. I don't necessarily want the white, but for some reason this stamp just looks so much better when you give it that little bit of space around the outside too. Someone tell me why that is. I just feel like this looks more finished. There you go, side by side. I'm giving this a quick wipe off to get any excess ink that may be sitting on top of the clear embossing that we did, just so that I don't get it on my fingers or my projects later on. And then now that I've used this little blue, a little bit of blue in the flower here, I feel like I also need to incorporate it in my background a little bit somewhere, because this got me thinking. I'm going to round the corners here. This just softens the piece a little bit. I also have lace going on in the background, and so I feel like that kind of goes along with it. Now this is a big brush marker. This is permanent India ink, and these are coming back. I see they are coming back, and they are available in some places. Because I have matte medium all over the background here, I'm able to put little dots of this down and then smudge it. Just a tiny bit of that blue showing up in the background. Then I'm going to do my very classic at this point. I've done it almost every time I've used these. I just really like it. The little bit of twine that's going to go around, so I just put some double-sided tape on the back there, and then I just do these strands one by one to get them in the place that I want. And that way I just feel like it's an extra little bit of added something detail onto this image. Now I'm actually not going to put a sentiment on this one. I've been really enjoying not putting sentiments and finding that these go really well from my stash when people go to take cards. They quite like these ones. I've sort of been talking to them about it, and they just, you know, sometimes the sentiment isn't quite right, or the sentiment doesn't match what they are trying to convey, but they really like the card design, and so these are perfect. Now I'm going to put this sort of over to the right a little bit, because that way the lace is going to poke out nicely down the left there. Then of course this needs a little border, so I will pop this on my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. Now, if you are looking to have a look at any of the supplies, or you're just interested, you want to know, you want to check them out, they are always listed down below, which helps me out greatly as well if you purchase through these, if you're choosing to purchase, or you might just want to have a nosy and have a look. Otherwise, that is my video for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will have another video coming out using up some background pieces soon. See you next video. Bye!